He thought his hair would grow back, but I guess it hasn't. So please welcome Colonel Alfredo to the stage.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Col Alfredo Corbett, the Deputy Director of Cyberspace and Information Dominance for Headquarters Air Combat Command. Hopefully you enjoyed that fun fact that was said of me. Yeah, I expected my hair to grow back after I shaved it, but I think it looks good now. I'm glad to be here, and thank you for allowing me to share with you Air Combat Command's data enterprise strategy. We've come a long way in a short period of time, but still have a ways to go. And with that, I'll begin the presentation. So this afternoon, I'd like to talk to you about some of the actions that we are taking at Air Combat Command, or ACC for short, to better position us for information dominance. We have undertaken a comprehensive assessment of our entire data workforce, our data infrastructure, and our culture in an effort to better position us for the future of warfare. This means improving data management capabilities, enhancing data access and sharing, especially with our mission partners, and delivering advanced analytics, including through artificial intelligence. We're currently putting the final touches on our data operation plan to define how we will implement the tasks to align and comply with the Department of the Air Force, the Department of Defense guidance, and especially as it's contained in the DoD strategy and the Air Force implementation plan. On the right-hand side of this slide is a memorandum from the Deputy Commander of Air Combat Command, Lieutenant General Christopher Wegeman. He signed this document earlier this year and issuing his guiding principle for us in developing a plan that implements the Department of Defense data strategy. General Wegeman's vision is fourfold. First, it establishes an integrated data governance capability at all levels. Then it creates a modern data reference architecture that aligns with DoD and Air Force standards. And then also integrates and delivers improved data management and governance practices by integrating DoD and Air Force data standards with an emphasis on data access, exploitation, and sharing. And lastly, it establishes a modern ACC enterprise data platform that brings together data management, and discovery and analytics tools. We'll talk more about some of these themes as we go through today's briefing. The bottom left-hand graphic is the Department of the Air Force, and it outlines the vision of the Air Force Chief Data Officer, Ms. Eileen Verdreen. Our data must be vault, visible, accessible, understandable, linked, and trustworthy. In developing ACC's roadmap to our data-centric future, we've relied on ACC, U.S. Air Force, and DoD principles and guidance. That same guidance has guided our approach. As I mentioned on the previous slide, we focus on conducting a robust and holistic assessment of our current data strategy, people, processes, and metrics. We interviewed 30 executives across ACC and collected inputs from almost 700 airmen across the organization. Our findings and the resulting report span 8 different capability areas, and we'll start at the top of the graphic and work our way around clockwise. Data governance is the foundation of effective data management, enabling data to be integrated into an enterprise-wide data management solution by codifying and enforcing data and technology standards, developing a data-centric workforce, and integrating data efforts across functional teams. So if data governance is the foundation of our data management success, data architecture is the foundation of the technology that enables data effectiveness. An effective enterprise data architecture, when it exists, optimizes the ingest, storage, processing, integration, usage, access, delivery, and exploitation of data. In the Air Force, it is paramount that our data architecture is able to operate at what we call the speed of war. Delivering the right data at the right time to the right warfighter, a process that in combat operations can be fractions of a second. Metadata management creates a standardized framework for generating, controlling, classifying, and managing our data assets. It's the data about data. Effective metadata management is crucial to enabling data access, whether it be through data discovery, data classification at the attribute level, rather than the system or network level. And master data management ensures that there is a single and authoritative version of the truth and requires that common entities are represented using a standard consolidated framework. Now, data quality preserves the value of information assets by safeguarding it from corruption and ensuring accuracy. When we talk about information lifecycle management, we are talking about ensuring that collection, preservation, and disposition of data not only conform with federal laws and regulations, but also enhances rather than hinders operational successes. And information privacy and security focuses on security and access policies and tools that permit authorized access and prohibit unauthorized access. This capability area is especially important in a military context where classified operations and communications are common and where personally identified information is everywhere. Finally, enterprise analytics focuses on instituting reporting processes that are baked into mission processes, but also on developing common tools to analyze data. Now, on this slide depicts the approach as we have tackled it at ACC, taking into account the 8 capability areas that we just discussed on the previous slide. So looking at the slide from left to right, we established a clear vision that is part of the Deputy Commander's guiding principles that we mentioned on the first slide. Then we conducted an assessment of our organization's maturity and developed a plan to set a data management office that can implement these changes over the next 5 years. We also developed a target reference architecture to be implemented by our nascent data management office. The graphic at the bottom highlights what the architecture looks like, and I'll discuss more in a moment. In order to define and prioritize the organization's goals and objectives, we developed 4 mission-focused use cases that identified a real ongoing operational problem for the ACC warfighter across aviation, cyber, and other enabling communities, and highlighted methods that enterprise data management can solve. And lastly, we put pen to paper and wrote a data operating plan that assesses our current state, identifies our target, describes the gaps between the two, and builds a roadmap to get there. So what have we found out? So before I talk through some of our findings on the left, let's take a brief detour to talk through the concept of multi-domain operations. In the past, our battles were fought and won in a single domain, such as the Battle of the Monitor and the Merrimack, the Battle of Britain, the Battle of the Bulge, Operation Linebacker, just to name a few. Those days are gone. The future of warfare is conflicts that simultaneously engage maritime, land, air, cyberspace, and space domains, all of which are enabled by data. Multi-domain operations is nothing more than the recognition that in order to compete successfully, the U.S. military will need to leverage more than one domain and likely all 5 domains simultaneously. Because of this need, connectivity between the 5 domains of war is paramount and must be enabled by a system of systems that facilitates fast, accurate, and reliable data flow between every node in the system. Joint All-Domain Command and Control, what we call JADC2, is the multi-domain enabled iteration of command and control that provides unity of command and flexibility and scalability for the theater commanders across all domains, and it is the system of systems being developed by the Air Force to enable warfighting capabilities and replace the aging command and control platforms currently in use. The large graphic on the slide indicates some of the core components of this Internet military of things, each of which is identified by its function and the suffix ONE, or 1, to indicate its universality, as a source node of that function. So for example, the centralized data repository in ABMS, or Air Battle Management System, is Data1. The open architecture moving target indicator is OpenMTI1, and the unified cloud solution is Cloud1, and so on and so forth. Why does all of this matter? As the graphic indicates, the central node of ABMS is its integrated data cloud-based architecture. Data drives the entire concept of operations. General Charles Brown, the Chief of Staff of the Air Force, hit the nail on the head when he spoke at the National Defense Industrial Association earlier this year and highlighted data as the most critical component of ABMS and JADC2. He said, "We have a lot of data. We just don't publish it. We don't share it like we should. We must accelerate the change required to connect all our platforms and sensors and our weapon systems. We must develop the infrastructure for the digital backbone for the data." So where does this leave ACC? As the Air Force's largest MAJCOM and its lead MAJCOM for air dominance and cyber operations, ACC plays a leading role in enabling the Air Force's success through ABMS. But what we have is a ways to go until we realize that vision. Our goals and observations include the findings on the left of the slide. We need to be better at viewing data as a warfighting asset. This is a cultural issue as much as a technological issue, and we need to help our entire workforce understand that data is a commodity that enables success in every other area of our operations. Enterprise data management is critical to enabling our future readiness, agility, and effectiveness. Without good enterprise data management in place, our vast troves of data become a hindrance rather than an enabler to our combat operations. Data architecture improvements are desperately required to optimize our infrastructure consumption, maximize data sharing, and unlock our analytics and exploitation capabilities. ACC needs a robust data classification and access capability that's compatible with intelligence community and our joint and international partners, and that classifies data at the attribute level. This will avoid stovepipes and silos created when data is classified at the system, network, or data set level. And last, ACC will benefit from processes, automation capabilities, and analytics sandboxes. These capabilities will lead to greater precision, better tracking, higher output, and increase ACC's ability to scale to meet operational needs. So how do we get there? Our new data architecture will be key to enabling the points discussed on the previous page. This is a top-level view of the reference architecture with the flow of data into the architecture depicted from left to right. The flow begins with data sources on the far left-hand side. These various mission systems across the operational spectrum, from readiness monitoring services and financial management platforms to sensitive ISR and air superiority fighters that generate data of all types. In the acquisition phase, those data sources are ingested into the architecture. This could be via an application program interface, automated ETL, streaming, or other method. That point is that architecture is open, flexible, able to adapt to the diverse technical capabilities of all of our mission systems. In the data marshaling, the data processed, vetted, integrated, arrayed, processed, and stored. This stage of the architecture is format agnostic and should include a variety of databases for all data types. At this point, the data should be visible, accessible, understood, linked, and trusted. Vault, if you remember before. The accessibility of the data will be evident in data access, through which end users and analysts are able to access the data through application program interfaces, native extract, transform and load processes, custom streams, and more. And in enhancing understanding in the enterprise reporting and analytics stage, those same users will be able to leverage a robust set of information consumption capabilities that enable data science, data discovery, data dashboards, geospatial analysis, and more. Action takes place once the data reaches target applications. This is when the data completes its journey through the architecture, arriving at the target to enable terminal weapon systems to do its job. Undergirding all of these infrastructure services and enterprise information management services, we have metadata management, master data management, information lifecycle management, and others that we spoke about on slide 3. This slide shows 3 of our use cases that we have developed to demonstrate the full scale of our data improvements. If you direct your attention to the legend at the bottom right, you'll see that this graphic highlights various theater equities and the roles they play in a specific use case. The green dots show involvement in our dynamic targeting use case. The white dots show involvement in our joint cyber defense use case, and the blue dots show involvement in our readiness use case. The first use case supports ACC as the lead command for JADC2 dynamic targeting with enterprise data solutions that integrate and present data to the warfighter at the speed of war. The ACC mission requires advanced data sharing as the bedrock of next-generation information superiority. Key programs of record such as Air Operations Centers, or AOCs, and Distributed Common Ground Systems, or DCGS, offer warfighters silo-like capabilities in their proposed current framework. but if properly integrated into a unified enterprise architecture, will become force multipliers within ABMS. AOCs will leverage the ABMS C2 or Command and Control Framework, JADC2 dynamic targeting, and DCGS's time-dominant fusion capabilities to execute their find and fix capability in near real time. Ultimately, data improves will demonstrate information superiority with integrated data-driven operations through an entire kill chain, which starts with the theater taskings from the Joint Force Air Combat Commander to the DCGS target and intel reporting, then through the automation of near real-time threat reporting to the AOC, which concludes with the transmission of the task and the target to the weapon system. The second use case will integrate the U.S. Space Force's defensive cyber operations mission data with AppCyber into Cyber Command's big data platforms and additional data sharing technologies like U.S. Cybercom Unified Platform, the Space Force's Unified Data Library, and the Air Force's Vault to demonstrate the cyberspace domain awareness. The desired end state is that both ACC and U.S. Space Force can leverage data from joint full spectrum ops into integrated platform to expedite counter-adversary tactics, techniques, and procedures. And big data platforms like Elixir will be integrated into the ACC data architecture. The third use case will provide a tool set and methodology for Air Combat Command to comprehensively evaluate the aggregated operational readiness of its warfighting forces at all echelons and across multiple measures of effectiveness. In sum, the current process in which we measure readiness is in a binary go, no-go mentality and uses legacy readiness metrics for our analysis with very little near real-time insight into actual readiness down to the squadron echelon. In order to holistically understand readiness, our data must be integrated to conduct data discovery and arranged systematically for advanced analytics. The end state of this use case is improved squadron unit readiness with ACC unit commanders able to identify, analyze, understand, and forecast in near real time unit readiness and effectiveness for current and future operations. To move forward towards this realized state, we've developed a plan. Pursuant to the directives of the Department of Defense and Air Force Headquarters, we've created an operational plan to implement key improvements across our architecture, governance, standards, and talents and culture. The blue lines of effort, or LOEs, on this slide are from the Air Force Data Strategy Implementation Plan, and our team has identified key tasks and actions for ACC within those LOEs. LOE 1 sets the foundation by focusing on building our ACC Data Management Office, headed by the ACC Deputy Command Data Officer. We also intend to hire a Command Data Architect and associated support staff to grow and expand this effort over the next 12 months. LOE 2 directs how we are evolving the workforce by identifying data stewards who are responsible for managing data assets across ACC, as well as working on establishing training and continuing education plans for these stewards. Another item we're exploring within this LOE is setting up a center of excellence to aid data specialists to the data fluent. This center of excellence would also have a significant charter to grow and develop ACC's use of advanced analytics, especially artificial intelligence and machine learning. LOE 3 positions and protects data. In this LOE, we will build out architecture and process standards improvements like metadata management, with a focus on driving interoperability by conforming to federal, DoD, and Air Force standards and creating standards that don't exist today. In LOE 4, we'll focus on building, optimizing, and operationalizing our architecture improvements by delivering them to the warfighter and incorporating them into broader frameworks like ABMS. A natural extension of LOE 1 is LOE 5, Management and Governance. In this LOE, we will empower the Data Management Office and every data management professional across ACC to own and establish a partnership between mission, operations, and IT to deliver a proactive data governance capability. This means developing a common governance framework for the Data Management Office to provide toolkits and resources to stewards, and always driving integration between our data management office and headquarters Air Force. In LOE number 6, converging means integrating resource and budgeting approaches between other MAJCOMs and the Department of Air Force, while aligning our data management efforts across the DoD and with partner nations. We have a long way to go, but we're excited about the journey ahead. So with that, I would like to thank you all for allowing me the opportunity to deliver this presentation. These are exciting times for ACC and the Air Force, and as General Brown, the Chief of Staff of the Air Force says, we must accelerate change or lose. Everyone have a great Air Force Day. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that wonderful talk. It's nice to have as our second military member for this conference. Thank you very much, Colonel Alfredo. So with that, we have